In order to create our institutional scorecard in Taskstream, we need to have set our department and program goals and/or our department and program student learning objectives and outcomes. As we have already done that in prior videos, we're going to skip right down to the institutional scorecard and planning section of the Taskstream template. When I click on institutional scorecard and planning, I'll go over and check it out. As we've seen in prior videos regarding creating the assessment plan and the assessment findings, we can create a new operational plan, or we can copy an existing plan as a starting point. As this is our first year working in Taskstream, we don't have an existing plan to copy, so we will be creating a new operational plan. You can see that our mission statement automatically populates at the top, and now we are able to select outcomes for this year. We will be selecting from an existing set, and we are asked if we want to be selecting from our program goal outcome set or our student learning outcome set. We will select program goal outcome set for now. As we've already established our department and program goal set above, it's asking us which of these two are we setting goals for the next year. I'm going to select, for now, I will select program enrollment of 40 students. Now you can see here's the goal that we have established, and I'm asked to add a new action. This is very important. The word action implies that there is something that we will be doing. The whole purpose of the institutional scorecard and planning section is to identify, given our findings from the past, what changes will we be making to our program to better achieve our program goals or student learning outcome objectives. Given that, the 3 to 5 things that we will be writing in our institutional scorecard this year are the big changes that we plan on making next year to improve our progress toward achieving our goals. These are not business as usual type things like meeting with the advisory board, but changes that we'll be making, actions that we'll be taking to try to achieve these goals. As in an earlier video, we established the assessment findings for this measure for last year. I'm going to want to select this box here saying include these findings in my action for next year. If you do not see this prompt, it's because you did not assign findings for this measure for last year, and that's fine, but for now I'm going to continue. Now I'm taken to this page where I'm asked to identify the specific things that I will be doing on this action item. I'm going to put in an action item title. I have decided that next year for my program I will be visiting 4 St. Lawrence County high schools to recruit students. Then I'm asked to provide the action detail. For this particular one, I will establish what schools I'm going to visit. I'm going to be doing this in the fall because I want to recruit these students for the following fall, and I might want to give them plenty of time to fill out their application in the spring. I'm going to identify the key responsible personnel. And I'm going to establish a measure for this. How will I know that this action is successful? Many people are tempted to just say, you will know this action is successful if you complete these 4 visits, but that's not actually an accurate representation of what we're looking at. What we're actually looking at is increasing the program enrollment to 40 students. And so the only way to know if we're successful is to get back to that particular objective of increasing program enrollment. So completing the action in and of itself is not that valuable to us if it doesn't change our program enrollment. So for my measure, I'm going to establish that the way I'll know it's successful is if I get 5 additional students from one of these 4 schools. Budget approval required. This is a very important step. One of the purposes of the institutional scorecard is to align our assessment processes, our planning, and our budgeting. This is the section where we identify budget information. So if this particular action for next year requires a budget, I will write yes, I will explain why, and then I'll write down what the budget request amount is. So as I'm going to be providing lunch to interested students, it's probably not going to be a big budget amount, and so I'll put $100. Then I am asked, what priority level is this particular action for me? For this particular action, it's not going to close down my program if I don't get the money, so I'm going to say this is a low priority. Then I'm going to apply changes, and I will say here's the program goal and here's the program outcome that we wish to see, and here's the action that I've identified for the 15-16 year. These are all the details associated with it, and this is the budget request amount. This is one of the most important sections that we're going to be putting in because this is the information that the deans and the executive body will be receiving to make budget decisions. So I encourage people to put as much detail as possible in here so that when the leadership is looking at these budget requests, they can make decisions to the best of their ability. For now, I'll create one more institutional scorecard item. In order to do that, I can select outcomes, which is going back to my list of program goals and selecting the ones I want to look at, or I could add a new action to the same program goal. So for example, if I was also going to be creating new brochures for the program and mailing them out to guidance counselors, that would fall under the umbrella of increasing program enrollment, and I would just add a new action. For now, I'm going to select a new outcome though. And I'm going to select bring outside companies on campus to teach students about electrical business. And in order to add a new action to this one, I'm going to check add a new action. You'll see here that it says up top, no findings have been created on this workspace, because in my assessment plan and assessment findings for the 2014-15 year, I didn't actually measure this. There's no problem with that because we may be alternating what goals or student learning outcomes we're looking at from year to year. And so I will just enter a new action item title. I'll enter the action item detail. I will identify the key personnel, and I will put down my measure. How will I know that this is successful? This may actually have multiple measures associated with it, because I'll know this is successful if I get the students to the presentations, because although they may not take a job with these companies, they may learn something from these presentations that helps them in their future job hunt. So my measures are going to be 35 students will attend this presentation and will reply to the survey saying that they agree that the presentation was useful. And in addition, I want students to become employed with these particular companies. So another measure that I'm going to use is that students will complete interviews with the companies. Finally, I'm going to say that 5 students will accept jobs with DEMCO or Dow. Usually we only look at one measure, but for this particular one, there are so many outcomes possible from this presentation that I wanted to identify the 3 different ways that I'll know that this is successful. Budget approval required for this particular one, no, because the companies are willing to pay for their own travel, and so I'll just leave the rest of this blank. I'll apply changes, and now I can see the details for this action item that I'm going to be doing next year. As programs are only being asked to supply 3 to 5 of these changes for next year, you can see that this scorecard is well on its way to being complete. And that's all we need to do in order to complete the institutional scorecard.